Good morning. Morning revelations with Dawn. Okay, it's way earlier than usual when I get these revelations, but it is what it is. I had this revelation actually days and days and days ago, but it came all the way to completion just now. So yesterday was Thanksgiving, right? Me and my sister cooked dinner, the whole dinner. Um the way my body works is if I stand for several hours, it will later in the night while I'm sleeping, it will seize up. There'll be pain that happens through my legs that will be so great that my feet will um, contort and see like constrict, and all through my legs it will just like seize up, and there'll just be pain and aching and constriction, and like blood flow is being strangled basically. So usually that causes me to either flip out of bed onto the floor, writhe around in pain, roll around moaning, screaming, yelling for God's good grace and mercy of healing, and or some days it gets, it's really bad where, like roll towards wherever there's pain meds and take some and lay there till again God's good grace assists me where there's relief and I can get up. So sometimes it's just where I have to roll out of bed and then kind of pull myself around the bed in the pain and pray continually, and often pray out loud, and you start binding and casting out and rebuking constrictions, and the calling into, airflow and opened uh corpuscles and veins and whatever's in there, God, that's causing this pain. Come on and do what you need to do, Lord, because I know you a good God and you are a healer, and you do for me at all times, right? So, um, usually it's a combination of the both, but it's definitely always, I have learned over the years that it's always going to be the conversation with God over my body and to my body about the God that I serve and how good he is and what he does, and that this vessel belongs to him. And it was going to do what he says for it to do, and it's not going to do what it wants to do because it don't run me. So we do that for it. It varies. So I don't know how long it will last. I don't know how long we will be rolling around on the floor. I don't know how long we will be crawling on the floor. I don't know how long we'll be laying there twisting and trying to stretch it out, or whatever is the case. And the causes for it, I don't know. My husband says because I don't drink enough water. I usually feel like it's because I don't stretch or something. Maybe it's a combination of both. It's all of it. It's something else. It's who knows. I'm not going to spend time and energy trying to figure it out, because again, God knows this body. He knows what's going on. He understands it. And what I have learned over the years is the pain goes away faster the quicker I can get into praise and worship, the quicker in the pain that I focus on my creator and not the creation of the pain, not the center of the pain, not the why is the pain happening, not the purpose of the pain, not any of the stuff that deals with the actual pain. But when I get into the presence of God with just praising him because he's a good God, and that's literally what I did tonight, was then the pain goes away a lot faster, because it is the presence of heaven coming down. It is in the midst of knowing no matter what type of pain I'm going through, that God is good. And that's the conversation we had tonight as I was pulling myself along the side of the bed, and I have a bench in the front for kneeling and praying and sitting, and as I was on the bench and then pulled myself back around, and I even joked with God, like, because lately I haven't kneeled and prayed like I know he wants me to, that I need to. And so I said, oh Lord, this is you saying, girl, you gonna kneel one way or the other. This is what was going to happen, one way or the other. So you figure out which way you want it. You want to do it on your own, or you want me to pull you down. And that's kind of how our life is when we are following God at any point in it, and we start straying from that close, intimate relationship, or from the purpose, or from the path, or whatever, and we start focusing on other stuff. He will pull us back to where we need to be, one way or the other. It will come in pain and confusion, frustration, heartache, trials, trauma, valleys, whatever you want to call it, one way or the other. We will be pulled back to where we need to be, to the focus we need to be on. Now, if you're out there just living your best life and ignoring his whole presence anyways, then when he's doing this stuff, you're probably ignoring it regardless. You're just blaming it on the rain, on anything else, anybody else, any other situation. You're just going through in ignorance and a cycle of, when things are good, I must be doing something right. When things are bad, I must be doing something wrong. That's an icky way to be. That's an icky place to be stuck in, where there's only those two options, right? But knowing that whether it's good or bad, that you are still in a nice, stable place, knowing that whether life is doing what you want it to do or not what you want it to do, that God still has you and is still good. You know, all the stories and scriptures and Job's situation and all that stuff sure was coming to my memory tonight as I was sitting here in just that glimpse of the physical pain and agony that we can be in, and going, God, but you are still good. And then I sat on the end of the bed, you know, trying to stretch out whatever I could, or move what I could. And as like I said, my feet will like twist from whatever it is, that constriction, it'll twist or whatever. And so I bent those contorted little muscles and whatever out, and tilted myself up. And then I put myself back down. I tilted myself up, and I said, God, this body will praise you. I will dance whatever way I can to praise and worship you, whatever you give me. And at 45 or at 85 or 105, this body will do what it needs to do to say that you are a good God, that you are who you say you are, regardless of the manifestation, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what it looks like and seems to be. So as I started doing that, that's when I felt a little more relief. So I got higher and higher. I got more and more in it. Like, I will praise you. I will dance. I will rejoice in whoever it is, whatever it is, whatever the situation, whatever's going on. Like, I will rejoice in you. Because I also was reminded by the fact that, like, even though God's always watching us, Satan is always watching us too. Satan, you will not take my joy. I don't care what it is I am going through here on this side of heaven. You will not be able to take away the fact that I have this knowledge of a good God and will praise and worship him regardless, when I understand or don't understand. I don't need to know what's going on. I just need to know who is taking care of it. That's it. That is it. We get so twisted over trying to figure a situation out and how it's going to work for our good, that we lose focus of who is working it out all the time. We do it all the time, whether it's one instance of physical pain, whether it's emotional stress and whatever, whether it's, actual financial stuff and physical things that are actually torturing us and literally putting us through a hell on earth and all that. Because I know that stuff exists. This is not a cliche thing about like God is good all the time and all the time God is good. And then therefore, the worst thing I go through is like, having to miss a payment on a bill or something. This is not that. This is the fact that I have sat with the devil. I have sat with demons. I have sat in the midst of something I knew I was not going to survive. And God was still who God is. God was still who God is. It just does not matter. It's not just words. It just does not matter what the situation is, how you are feeling, how you're like, but this time, no, every time, it's still a good God. It's still God's situation. It's still God's battle. It's still God's plan. It's still not greater than him. It's still not something that will throw him off his game, that's going to put him into shock, that's going to be like, I could create the whole universe, but that thing that's going on with Dawn, I don't know what we're going to do about that. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you. It ain't happening. He always got an answer. He's always got a plan. He's always doing what he's supposed to do because he's always God. And if we can just get in that and follow and praise and worship him for who he is, not what he's going to do, not how he's doing it, not what we see as we turn it around, like stop. If we could just stop being the little 3-year-old that's throwing the tantrum because they can't get the thing that they think they have to have, and focus on who is holding the thing. Because, man, if you're a kid and you're secure in who your parents are, and you just know that like, you don't have to walk yourself through like, well, like this is, well, last time, she had that toy and I wanted the toy and I didn't get the toy. And then later after I did this, that, and the others, then she gave me the toy and I was better and I played with the toy and it was so much fun. Like, no. There are kids that are secure in who's caring for them, and then they just ride it out. Like, there's a part of them that just knows, and just sometimes you got to remind them. Sometimes you do. Like, I'm a good parent. You know this. Sit down somewhere. And they just lay there, go back to what they're doing, get distracted, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we not just get into a quick turnaround when the pain happens? Can we not, when the discomfort happens, when the confusion happens, when the blindness happens, and we don't see how we're supposed to see it? Because the doubts and fears happen. Like, that's just a part of our DNA also. There's nobody walking on the earth that is flesh and blood that don't have that weaved into them. So it's not about the fact that you should never fear and never have doubt and all that other stuff. That's why God gives us all the scenarios where the disciples did fear and they did doubt. And he did fuss at them about it, like, get it together. But I don't think every single time those stories are in the Bible that it's cautionary tales that we should just be nothing like the disciples. I think it's that he's just letting us know, this is how you are. Do you not relate with this story? Because this is how you are. This is not about, oh, look at Peter. He's so messed up. I'll never be like Peter. Oh, look at doubting Thomas. What a doubter. I will never be like Thomas. It wasn't for us to criticize and judge, because that's not what we're supposed to do anyways, right? We get that whenever we pull up those scriptures. But that's literally what he was trying to show us, is that I'm just giving you a display of who you already are. This is like the anatomy books that show you what your skeleton is, where the veins and muscles are, where your organs lie. It's not so you could look at the structure and go, oh yeah, that's a dumb place. I don't think that should go there. And well, I don't know why this is here where that is. Mine shouldn't go there. I'm going to push it over. Like, it wasn't for you to go over it and start refiguring how it should be and how it should work better. It's a display of what you already are. They show you your anatomy so that you that's dealing with medical, whatever you're studying, will know what a human body already is. We have these displays in the Bible of what human nature already is. Not so we can go, I will never be what that is. I won't do that. My relationship with God will be so much stronger and so much better because I pray continually and I give and I tithe and I volunteer, and I don't know what was wrong with them. I would have walked on the water the whole time. I wouldn't have got distracted. That's not what they're for. It's to remind us and display to us so that we have that comfort in knowing that is who we are. And God is who He is. And this is how the relationship works. Because the Bible is not to explain to us how we are going to save the universe in our lives. It's to explain to us the relationship and display to us the relationship, the love story that we already have with the one that wrote the story. You know? So our job is just the praise and worship part. Our glory is just the praise and worship part. Our blessing is just the praise and worship part. Our allowance is just the praise and worship part. When you have kids, their job is not to figure out how the bills are going to get paid. It's not to figure out how the mortgage is going to get paid. It's not to figure out where they're going to live and what cars they're going to be chauffeured to everywhere in. It's not for them to figure out all that stuff. You may show them that and display to them how the stuff is taken care of and how the stuff is done. And that's how any responsible parent should do, so that they are not thrown to the wolves at some point in their lives when they get to that point in that age where they got to do the bill paying and the choosing and all that stuff. And our God is a better parent and a better person and a better entity than we will ever be. So if us in our own ignorance and stupidity can figure that out for parenting, how much better is the one who created the whole entire universe to say, I'm just showing you how things are done, not because you need to take it over and do it, because you are still my child and I still take care of you. I'm just showing you how things are done. Why? So then you can go somewhere and show them how things are done. So they can go somewhere and show them how things are done. That's called discipleship, which is one of our commandments. It was not so we can all come together. We just at our Thanksgiving table discussed Babel Tower and all that kind of stuff. It's not so we can come together and do it all on our own and build a Babel Tower, and because we are so awesome and so great, and now we see. I was blind and now I see that I can do all things. And we forget that through the one who strengthens us. And he wasn't talking about all things as in I can take over the world and I can be the best in this corporate boardroom and I can, go and take over Bitcoins and I can go blah, 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 blah. The scripture was to remind us that we are to have peace and comfort in who he is. And even when we doubt and fear through Christ Jesus, we can still have peace and comfort in who he is and the confidence of God being God, even in the pain and confusion and frustration. That's the all things. Because if you can grasp that, then the rest of it just flows. If you can keep your focus on the hills, if you can keep your eyes where they need to be on the prize, right? If you can see the kingdom and just stay looking and seeking the kingdom that resides and rests inside the Christ, then all these things shall be added unto you. And that all these things was whatever concerns your life and function, peace and comfort of mind, because that is what that's the challenge through our world here on this earth. It's not how much stuff we can attain and how many bills we can pay and what comfortable existence we can create for us. That is not the challenge. Monkeys create revenue. If you've seen the movie Nope, monkeys create revenue. Monkeys get paid. Monkeys make money. Monkeys create great and wonderful things that we sit and watch and awe at. That's not the mastery of being a human, to figure out how to function in this world in a grander way each day. The mastery of being a creation of God is to withstand your peace and comfort and confidence in Him, because everything else changes. That's the only thing that's constant, is God. The only thing that's constant. There is no faith in anything else. There is no true foundation and trust and security in anything else, because everything else changes. It is what it is. It was what it was. You know, everything else changes except for Him. I have this picture on the wall back there. The other thing God showed me in this pain, and when He snatched it and pulled it back to where it needed to be, was the fact that I have this cracked frame. I had a frame that I got, and it was something else, and I changed it to something else that suited me, that I thought was beautiful. And while I was fixing it, I cracked the glass. When I was putting it back together the way I wanted it, I cracked the glass. And I hung it up, I cleaned the glass and I hung it up anyways. Because even with the cracked glass, it was still beautiful to me. It was still interesting to me. I don't mind it. That's what I see every day when I look in the mirror. I'm cracked glass. I don't mind it. Still beautiful. Still useful. I still serve a purpose. And tonight He was showing me too that this broken body, this shell that is what it is and does what it does and don't always do what it needs to do, that up close is when I can see the crack in that frame. It's up close when you see my cracks, my wounds, my frailties, my weaknesses. But when you pull back and are viewing it, it just looks like a framed piece of art that's on the wall, which is what its purpose is. I can't be concerned about the cracks and the wounds that others see or that I see when I'm up close, because the one that created it is the one that really sees all the cracks. I made the cracks. So when I pointed it out to my kids when they came to see the room about the frame, and whoever else came in to see my room, and I was pointing out like, oh yeah, that picture actually has a crack in it. Like if you lean in close, you'll see it, and I'm telling them what corner to look at, because I created the crack. Because it was in my hands when the things fell apart and did what it did. That's why I know where the cracks are, and I can point them out. But really, they saw what they wanted to see anyways, until I showed them something different. We're all that way. I'm cracked, and I was still in the potter's hands. I was still in the Creator's hands when I was cracked and damaged. I never once left His hands when I acquired my cracks and my frailties and my pops and my Mars and all those different things. I was still in His hands. And when He designs for someone to be able to see that, like with my husband, with my children, those who are close, when He designs to allow someone to be able to see those cracks, They see what he decides to allow them to see. I don't even control that. I don't control how they see the cracks, what they understand about the cracks. I don't control when they see it. I don't control their impression of the cracks or how it changes the way that they now look at this art. And often they just pull back and then still see what I tell them to see, basically. What the creator, what the maker told them to see. So when they pulled back from the frame, still the impression only changed. I didn't have to show them the cracks. Their impression only changed when the maker decided to change it. He was still in control. He's still always in control. We run around and do all this stuff thinking that we're arranging things and we're fixing things the way we want them to be and stuff. In the midst of my pain, when I woke up this morning and rolled and fell out of this bed and dragged myself around it, in that pain and confusion, because each time it hits me, I'm like, oh, dude, I got a whole Jerry Lewis thing going on. Some of y'all won't get that reference, but anyways. But in the midst of all of that, during all of that, there's like all these thoughts and things that go on. And that praise and worship moment pushes all that aside, because then again, I am in the Creator's hands and he will do what he always does. And all I have to do is praise and worship him, and it's going to be what's going to be. Because when I sat on the other side of this bed, as I pulled myself over there, I did my praise and worship. And it was sincere, people. It wasn't something I did so I could get the step done. It wasn't something I did because I heard it in a sermon and thought it sounded good. It wasn't something I did because I needed to do this video later and tell you about it. It wasn't something I did because somebody was watching my steps or what I was doing. It was something I did because it was true and it was sincere, because that's what I understand and that's what I know. And I understand and I know that God is a good God no matter what, because of the fact of all the pain that I've already gone through in 45 years. He is consistently the good God no matter what. He never changes. That never changes. How he shows the cracks, what he does with the cracks, when the cracks come, when the pressure is applied and the cracks happen, when it's a drop, when it's however, whatever is going on, he is always such a good God. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's holding me in his hands. That part never changes. No matter my impression of the cracks, no matter my view of the cracks, no matter what I do with my issues and my frailties and my pain and my frustration and my confusion, no matter if I immediately praise and worship him or I sit and I linger in my mess and my wallow till I come to myself like the prodigal son and then run back home. None of that matters, because he's consistently holding me in his hands. So the only thing that changes is where I decide I want to be at. Am I consistently in his hands in ignorance, wallowing in my stuff until I come to myself, eating the filth of pride and self-control and attempting to run things. That's why I'm by self-control, attempting to run things and all that other stuff, because we don't have none of that, in the ignorance of trying to figure out how to hide the crack. Because when I saw the crack, I didn't want to take the stuff back out and find a different frame, because I love the frame so much. The frame was so pretty to me and so unique to me that I loved the frame so much I didn't want to take it out. I didn't want to put something else on it, plexi or plastic, or just take the thing out and try to glue the stuff on so it could be a different way. I didn't want to, but I thought about maybe if there's something I can put in the crack so that I know it's secure and the glass won't fall out later and will lessen the appearance of it. I did think about that. And I think we all do with ourselves, right? If I can just lessen the appearance of my weaknesses and my frailties and my issues, if I can lessen the appearance and find something that will hold it all together, when really the maker is already doing it. The frame does what it's supposed to do. It's held together. The frame is not damaged. Just what was inside the frame. This frame is God's hands and how he holds me. I'm just what's in the frame. So what's holding me together is not what I did, is not what I put together. It's not my degrees and lack of degrees. It's not my, grit and my swagger. It's not my perseverance and obstinance. It's not any of my personality traits or whatever. That's not what's holding me together. Oh, my dear sweet Jesus, no. But it's the frame, the potter's hands, not the clay, that's holding me together. So that was my morning revelations. And I am praising God for the fact that I can bend over, do this video, and I'm about to go do my paper route pain-free. Just saying. Give praise in the pain and outside of the pain. In all things. Count it joy. All things. Y'all have a blessed and beautiful day and weekend. I hope some of y'all that even lasted through the 31 minutes of this has a different perception about just how your life can be, and save yourself some money today and don't worry about them Black Friday sales. I'm just saying, if you was living without whatever is in those sales papers and those ads in those stores up until this point, chances are you don't need it anyways. And chances are, if you're looking over and scouring over all those sales and deals and stuff, the money that you have probably should be put to better use and saved up. Just saying, people, let's do better. Let's do better. Okay. That's all. Bless y'all. Have a good day.